Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 1 of The Luck Bubble. My name's Kirk, and I used to be an expert in reading people, metacognition, why people think the way that they do. And then my heart failed, and I realized I was way too serious. So here I am, just making shit up, just on the hero's journey. Just that one step at a time that's scary until you take it, and then the next step presents itself. And I'm just stepping into the cringe because the concept of me doing this is cringeworthy. The way through is to not give a fuck. So much so that I'd like you to welcome today's guest, and that's the artist formerly known as me before I got sick. Say g'day. Hello, everybody. This is Uptight Kirk. Trying to be impressive. Looking sharp, dickhead. You're a dickhead. You're a bigger dickhead than I am. He's a bigger dickhead than I am. Now, before we get started, I want you to tell people of something that lights you up. What was something from your past that lights you up? And we're going to play a little something that we prepared earlier. Okay, talk us through this. I had this memory of Mum and Dad laughing at Burt Reynolds laughing in his films in the 80s. Cannonball Run, Smokey and the Bandit. I mean, the bloke was a legend and he was so cool. But when he laughed, I just remember it made me laugh so much. So this is what that is. It's just a collection of Burt Reynolds laughing. I shouldn't tickle my fancy so much, but it makes me laugh, man. He was so cool, and yet he was just really seemed like he was really present and having a good time when he was in his prime. Yeah, good memories. Oh, my camera ran out of juice. Oh, good one, dickhead. Okay, now tell them what it is that you used to do. All right. So formerly, I was an expert in reading people. I use intuition, symbolism, and the knowledge of what the mystics had taught me from traveling around the globe and studying with them to reveal what people don't know about themselves. Their habitual patterns, if you will, that create the same results over and over again. And my job is to reveal that to them, and then why they do that, what it was in their history that created that moment. To understand why a person does what they do and show them the folly of their ways, it always creates the same results for them over and over and over again. Bring them back. Done that for about 25 years. Okay, if I was to work with you, what I'd do is I'd simply sit you here and just do a read on you. Just go, okay, what does this person do? What do I need to know about this person? What's their preoccupation in life? What are they dedicated to proving about themselves? And then I define their body or the space on the ground or my view as having the answer. And then I just notice something that comes, stands out, and ask, well, what's obvious about that thing that stands out, that object, that memory, that sound? And then I would simply make it up. And I just got really, really good at making it up. And when you start talking or writing it down, you become incredibly accurate. You start to see someone's past very clearly. You start to see their choices they make. You see their patternistic behavior very clearly. It's not new science. All cultures, all mystics of all cultures do it, whether they're tarot readers or phrenologists reading the bumps on your brain, on your head, on your scalp, or they're tea leaf readers. The really, really good ones, they're just using that medium as symbolism and they just plug into something. It's not psychic ability. It's just stating what's obvious about the person because as energetic creatures, we've got signs all over us all the time. It doesn't take an intuit to reveal why someone does something. It just takes shutting up for long enough and paying attention. And it's the thing that can break you through. It's literally the meaning of life. What I find is that that client's ethereal spirit actually wants to be seen. It wants to go, well, this is what I actually love, and this is what's fucking it up. So that's what I'd do with you. And we'd start, and then I'd reveal that, and you'd look at me, and then you'd probably say, no, that's not me. Okay, here's an example. I had a client once, and she was a twin, and she said to me, I said, I started tuning in how you you deliberately seek out bad partners. What you really, really want is to be seen, but you pick out bad partners. You're so attracted to bad boys. But and she's like, huh? And I'm like, yeah, but you've been struck on the side of your left side of your face, like over and over and over again. She's like, what are you talking about? I said, I just see you getting beaten consistently on the right side of your face. And she's like, that's never happened. You're full of shit. And I'm like, fuck, I get what I get. And that's why I record my sessions. I said, play it back to someone you know. That's always the deal. If I do a read with someone first, play it back to someone you know. She plays it back. And I get this phone call, and it's from her sister, her twin sister. And she's like, Kirk, she's had 4 or 5 boyfriends who've all punched her, struck her on the right side of her face. And she completely forgot about it. And it wasn't until I said to her, are you kidding me? This guy's bang on. Because that's what the ego does. It shuts out the evidence of it because it's dedicated to proving that it's right rather than happy. And her thing was, it was right that she was going to be persecuted all the time. And I even remember my father once as a child, and he pulled out the strap on her. Something happened and it flicked up and it hit her on the side of the face. And it started this, without going into her stuff, it's just an example of how the ego can shut down the evidence to break free. So in working with her, we had a chance to show that that's her misbehavior though. My job is to show people their misbehavior, to show them what they do that provokes that response from other people, the world, the universe, to create the very thing they're trying to get away from. And how is it that you got into that? Well, in 2000, I got sick with an illness that they said it'd kill me. And the only way I got better was by doing stuff I didn't understand, extreme rituals and practices that changed how I was as a person. And one of those things was I studied with a master for many years, learning the use of intuition, using symbolism to read people. But I didn't want to be a healer. So I ran away from that, joined the military, tried to go for special forces selection. And just before the end of that, I got stabbed in the eye with a stick that had explosives on it and ate away the cornea in my left eye. And I was pretty gutted with that because somewhere along the line, originally I just wanted to know if I could be, if I could pass selection, but then it became about actually the job. I wanted to do the job. The Anzac legend of mud and blood and tears, and understand what it would be like to serve something greater than oneself. After I got stabbed in the eye, I struggled with vision in that eye for a couple of years. And a select group of individuals started using my skills to help them solve problems within a military context. And one of those things was understanding the selection process. Was what is the X factor that gets someone through from, hundreds of guys who want to try out for it to the dozen or so, or 2 dozen that make it through. And what I observed was this phenomenon of the luck bubble, which was extreme moments of good fortune that special forces soldiers would have around the world, whether they were straight SAS or commandos or American Green Berets or SEALs or a Delta or Spetsnaz, Grom. I mean, it was global. The deeper and deeper I went into it, I saw the same effect. And I boiled it down to just 3 things that get them through, which is 1, get the job done. There's no room for emotion in combat. 2, look after your mates. You don't have to like them to love them. Because as much as you look after him facing that way, he's looking after you facing the other way. And the 3rd thing was have a good time. And it was in that order. Get the job done. Look after your mates. Have a good time. And it's the ability to not let anything mean anything about them, just to get that job done, that will create these incredible moments of good fortune, driving over IEDs and not going off, being shot through the webbing of clothing and not getting hit, or in the a bullet in the magazine of the weapon right in front of your face. It would happen over and over and over again. So then I was bemused by my own lack of good fortune. So I started traveling the world and documenting rituals and practices that created good luck, or the concept of good fortune. And I observed it was simply cause and effect. It was the ability to get out of one's own way. So then companies started asking me if I could help them to create what looks like good fortune. Startups, football teams, military. And I did it with a lot of effectiveness. But I struggled to actually create good fortune for myself. And that's what led to me getting sick a couple of years ago and my heart failing and then discovering that it was a congenital defect. I had to take my own medicine from serious Kirk to someone a little less serious. Okay, so what's the concept of what it is that you do? Or did, I should say. Okay, the general concept of what it is that I do is that we're born, we come into this life, and we need to know the way the world is. So we forge these beliefs about the way I am and the way other people are and the way the world is. And we'd rather be right about that throughout our life than actually happy creating what we want. It's our default, especially when we're going after something that we would love to create, something we think means something about us. You're driving down the street and you want to park. It's a pretty easy thing to do. But if you need to park outside that building because you're going to meet the girl of your dreams or it's the job interview of your life, more often than not, I would have clients that would somehow, the car would choose that day to get a puncture. Google Maps would tell them the wrong directions. They'd spill something on their shirt and have to get it changed. They get a parking ticket out the front or there are no parks available. When it means something about you, it has an effect of creating the way you see the world, which is not enough, I'm not worthy, I can't trust people, that'd be right, the world's against me, or whatever it is. And my job is to show people that's their misbehavior. The problem isn't that there's all this information available at any moment. The problem isn't that we can only focus on 2 or 3 things in our consciousness at any one time, or even just one thing, if you're like me. I'm a boy. I can't even walk and chew gum without messing it up. So the problem is that we're looking for the same things in our consciousness, in our world, the external world, to prove the way we see ourselves. Let's say it's not enough. I'm not enough. The problem is that we will look for evidence that we're not enough. And if it's not out there, we will misbehave. We will draw into us situations that create that very scenario. It's like, I'm not enough, so I'm going to act more. And then you're big personality, you come in a room and you're more. But then to the person that you really want their opinion of, they're like, this person is full of shit. I can relate. That was me. That is me. So inevitably, the very action of you trying to be more is the way that creates the feeling in you from that person that you're not enough. And thus the downward spiral. And we all have something. You know, I'm only safe if I have power. I'm not enough. I'm not worthy. I could go way into it. So my job was to reveal that to people, their default. Okay, this is what you do. And how I would prove it to them is I would pull up using intuition, using symbolism. I would read them. I'd say, well, this moment comes into my mind from your past. And I could very accurately describe something from their past, who was there, what was said. And then that would start the floodgates of dozens and dozens and dozens of those same moments where the same things took place to them, but only to them in that particular order, their pattern, if you will. So my job was to reveal to them what they weren't seeing about themselves, give them knowledge of themselves, to know thyself. And I was really good at it. So then companies would engage me, funds would engage me to read into the subjective data on potential investments, to tell the people that were involved to define them. I'm an expert in subjective data, the objective, the written data, but then what's the subject? What's the pattern of this person that's a CEO, let's say this founder of this incredible technology? What's their default? Are they trying to prove that they're the smartest person in the room because they don't believe that anybody sees that? Therefore, they're going to sabotage what was going on. Or sports teams, the superstar who is cancer to the rest of the club because the culture is rotten. That's my job. Subjective data, the king of subjective. You're an idiot. You're a big idiot. We're both idiots. All I've got. That's all I've got is you're a big idiot. Yeah, nice bathrobe. What, don't you like it? I couldn't give a fuck. I think that's important. I think you're too serious, dude. I think you're way too serious. At some point in time, I think you got carried away you thought you had to be a certain way. And then you develop this skill set, which you're really, really good at because you spent your whole life trying to work out how to be, like looking at other people going, well, how do they want me to be? So you would morph and change. That's why I was a good actor. I was good with intuition because I was constantly reading people, but at the denial of actually being myself. So, because I ain't got shit worked out. I really don't. And that's the first step in real evolution is owning the fact that you don't have it worked out. And I'm trying to find wholeness, as my good friend, a learned psychedelic assisted therapist had said to me, let's try and find some wholeness in this whole mess. That is Kirk. And I was like, bing. I was really, really high on mushrooms at the time. So maybe that had something to do with how it rattled my soul. Ooh, there's a study that was completed. Don't ask me to cite it. I'm not going to do it. What he's referring to is Aldous Huxley's fabulous book from the 50s called The Doors of Perception, in which he cited Henry Bergson, who was a philosopher. And the theory suggests that the brain and nervous system act as a filter, the reducing valve to protect us from being overwhelmed by the mind at large. And to survive, humans only need to know how to find food and avoid danger. Therefore, the brain shuts out the plains of information and infinite knowledge because it would be biologically useless and overwhelming. But the role of psychedelics is that it bypasses this valve, allowing the individual to experience the mind at large, the totality of existence and internal wisdom that was always there inside the mind, but was filtered. And this massive library or archive of knowledge that stretches back millennia through our lineage is actually available to us. So the use of psychedelics was not plugging into something external, tapping into the source or the future, the past, or connection throughout all time and space, but actually simply opening the doors of perception in the mind to what we already know. Mind-bending, huh? Sorry. Back to you. Someone who's done a lot of psychedelics with a lot of cultures around the world to understand that it was not tapping into something greater than myself. It's actually what I've known and learned and observed and absorbed. But my mind just couldn't handle it. It really couldn't. And the mind that created the problem cannot solve that problem. It takes the stepping out of that neural pathway to see it from a different perspective to actually change. And that science is now ratifying what the mystics have always known is cool because that's the only way that the regular general public will understand it. And for me, that truth about the self is that I was trying to be someone, always trying. And there was a martyrdom about me being an intuit, a successful intuit with clients getting incredible results. Was that whether it be money or love or children or success, luck, good fortune. And yet I couldn't create luck for myself. You couldn't create luck for you. And that's what, Kirk, you were dedicated to proving about yourself. Really, your heart should have stopped back in 2000 when you got sick for the first time. You slept for almost 3 years, 20 hours a day, and got down to you know, more than 50 kilos. And as you said, the only way you got better was by doing stuff you didn't understand. But all that stuff that you learned simply placated for 25 years what was supposed to happen. Because I stayed so healthy with qigong and meditation and breath work, and then the studying around the world of what people did to create what looks like good fortune. You just kept the illness at bay with being so healthy energetically. If you hadn't have done all those things, you would have had more of a crisis point that forced you to look at yourself and understand. And what a journey it was for you, huh? As the saying goes, one's castle must crumble before the empire can be built. And you certainly achieved that. You burnt that bitch to the ground. You didn't fuck around. Lost everything. Health, wealth, relationship, sense of self, everything. Gone. Qigong master used to say the age of 48 to 54 for a man is called the age of evaluation, in which stuff goes down in a man's life. And the degree to which he meets that, he either has the greatest work of his life come from him, or he slowly begins to die. Okay, and here's a little segment, people, that I like to call Dear Dickhead. It's what my guest would say to themselves as a 16-year-old knowing what they know now. For me, the one thought would be to get back into my body, out of my head. It's not a thought, it's movement, it's breath. Getting back into my body, and that gives me the belief back in myself. That's right. I don't know how to be right now, and that's my default is I think I have to be a certain way, and I don't know how to do that, and I'm freaking out. Therefore, it creates a loop that I'm going to freak out, and I don't, and I have to pretend as opposed to being present. The present comes from a breath back into my body. Yeah, I got this. Sorry, where were we? Back to being present, into the unknown. The fear of the fear being worse than the thing I actually fear. And for me, that fear is not knowing how to be. That social awkwardness that would come from that. And I could go way deep into the root of that, but that's what the book's about. All right. So thanks for that. I'm going to stick around. Cool. All right. What we've got next is a little segment I like to call News of the Week. Now we're going into the headline. Okay, so the Australian under-16 social media ban. We're 3 months in. I want to talk about the absurdity. Reports show that while 5.7% of kids dropped TikTok, YouTube usage actually stayed flat because kids just stopped logging in to bypass the age gate. Meanwhile, parents are reporting increased social interaction, but 25% of kids say they feel digitally exiled. Okay. So my commentary on that is that the government is trying to build a digital fence around a playground that has just no borders. So I think that ban won't fix the kids. The kids are just mirrors of us. Rather than look at ways to fix the kids, perhaps I'll just go back to fixing myself. I could spend less time on social media. I really could. Perhaps it's just setting a timer, just going, okay, we got 2 minutes. Before that, the endorphins kick in, that dopamine that I want to watch more. I can't help myself. I am just a doom scroll. Perhaps I could just set myself a timer and just go, yeah, okay, I need a hit. Boom, have a look at that. Boom, 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 done. Rather than preach to others. I think it's the same with parents. How could you use it less? Could you not bring your phones to the dinner table? Could you turn your phones off after 6 o'clock? Could you enforce that your kids do not take their phones to their bedroom? That you don't do it either. So quick, we've got to do this and this too. Yeah, that film by that just came out with Sam Rockwell, Goodbye, Good Luck, Don't Die, is an indictment of AI's potential effects on the human brain. And they just did this study for the first time in history. Our IQ is actually lowering, and then putting it down to the use of social media, the screen time. We're literally making ourselves dumber. So rather than preach about way to do it for others, how about I do it for myself? How about I go back to reading a book? How about I find the time to meditate, to do breath work, to do art of some sort, to bring art to the world, get off that screen. Yeah, do as I do. I can't change others, but I can change me. Hopefully that has a ripple effect. The practice of the week. All right, let's do the spinning wheel of practices. Here's a little practice I like to call slow the fuck down. Okay, everyone with me. Just take a big breath in. Let it all go. Actually, an audible sigh 5 times is what we're going to do. Breathing in. And let it go. And enjoy it. Breathing in. Through the nose. And just let it all out. Fourth one, breathing in. Hold it for a moment. All the way out, all the way out, all the way out. Through the mouth. Breathing in one last time. Hold it. Breathe in a bit more. And let it all go. Now enjoy how that feels in your body. That's me. Thanks for sticking around if you made it this far. Enjoy your week. And remember, it's not what you do, it's how you are. And nothing means anything about you. Just take a big breath in and rock on. Lots of love. Out.